Vishnapadan Sahaguna Lalita Shivashakan Vitam Sacha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Guru Abhishta Shapurakam Guru Ganarashisha Sambhushitam Chinta Chinta Samastu Vedanipunam Shri Rupa Panthanugam Govindabhidam Ujjalam Vartanam Bhaktyanamitam Sundaram Mande Vishwa Guruncha Divya Bhagavad Premnau Hibij Bradam Devam Divyatanam Suchandravadanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandranandapuram Sadekvarnam Vairagya Vidyam Budam Shri Siddhantanidhim Subhaktilasitam Sarasvatanambaram Vandetam Shubhadam Madeka Sharanam Nasisaram Śrīdharam Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Tividito Gauriya Gurvanvaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhat Gagane Gaura Sankirtanay Mayavadatimingilo Daragatan Udhritta Jivaniman Krishna Prema Sudaptika Hansukam Pradata Prabhum Tam Bhaje Namo Gaura Kishoraya Bhaktavadhuta Murtaye Gaurangra Padma Brangaya Radha Bhavan Shevane Vande Bhakti Vinodam Shri Gaura Shakti Sarupakam Bhakti Shastragya Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudanadim Gaura Vrajashita Sheshaira Vaishnaveira Vanda Vigraham Jagannatha Prabhum Vande Premabdham Vriddha Vaishnavam Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhaiva Cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Namo Mahavadanaye Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Tushe Namah Sashtang Dandat Pranam to all the exalted Vaishnavas, servitors, all the devotees serving at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and Param Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakṣhak Śrīdhar Dev-Goswamī Maharaj, worldwide at Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. To our friends, well-wishers, and seekers, our sincere obeisances and Hardik Namaskar. Welcome to our Friday evening Sangha. I have our panelists. Let me bring them on. Dandat Pranam and welcome Shripad Chinmayadev Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam.
Arun Prabhu would probably be joining us. He said that he would. I had spoke to him earlier, so. We're reading from the Golden Staircase, and we're going to pick up from where we left off last week. This was Seeing with the Eye of the Soul, Chapter 3. And the section is, the soul has its own body. So that's where we're going to pick it up from. So this is Param Guru Maharaj. If a ghost can show his form, or a yogi can show his form, then is not God able to show his form? He can do so by his will. Let there be water. There was water. And when he said, let there be light, there was light. His will is law. Whatever he wants to do, at once it is done. So, will he have to have a permanent flesh and blood body? At his will, he can show anything as he likes. and it is all spiritual with no touch of the contamination of any mundane substance. But the I in the higher domain of reality is not like the fleshy I here. Everything is there, the eye, the ear, but they are not the same as here. Just as in dreams, our fleshy eyes do not work. These ears do not work. Yet within our dream, we see, feel, walk, eat, and drink. The mind is only half material. And if even in the mental plane all these activities are possible, then transcending that also is the pure spiritual world. And there is the spiritual eye, the spiritual ear, the spiritual mind. Everything is spiritual. It is possible. On the battlefield, when two tanks come to fight, the men within the tanks may think the tanks are moving like two demons pushing one another. The tanks are crashing together. But the man is within. Similarly, the soul within the body has its own body, its own plane of living, its own food, everything of its own in the spiritual realm. And this world is the perverted reflection of that realm. We must purely aspire after a life in that spiritual realm. And purity depends on love. And love means sacrifice. Die to live. We have to die wholesale in regard to our interest in life here. And then another sort of interest will awaken within us, and we shall live there in that place. That is our aspiration, and for that we have left all our concrete things, our house, our property, our friends, father, mother, children, and other relatives. So many things we have left, and we have gone out in the quest of other things. We have no more charm for mundane possessions. We are seeking something which is supramundane. Mundane means under the jurisdiction of mortality. At every second it is dying. Everything on which we depend for the maintenance of this body is dying at every second. Everything. So we want to be out of this dying land, and if it is possible, we want to live in a land where there is no death. That is Amrita. That which is without death, and that is sweet. It is Vaikuntha. It is Goloka. Vaikuntha means in the consideration of the infinite perspective. That conception. Kuntha means limitation, and Vaikuntha means unlimited. To live in Vaikuntha means to live in the relativity of the infinite whole. Namaskar, Somnath ji, welcome.
Namaskar.
How are you?
Jai Ram Prabhu. No, I'm good.
Jai, Jai. The next section reads the purest prayer. Devotee. Maharaj, also regarding Tulsi Devi, I noticed that in this mutt while circumambulating Tulsi during her arti here, the devotees don't like to chant the mantra Yanikani cha papani brahma hatyadikani cha tani tani punashyanti pradakshana pade pade. Those who circumambulate Srimati Tulsi Devi step by step destroy whatever sins they have committed, even the killing of a Brahman. Why is this? Srila Śrīdhar Maharāj. A devotee of higher order must not have any prayer to absolve me of sin. The first class devotee will pray, whatever I have done wrong, I am ready to suffer for that. To the farthing. But my prayer is only that I may get a drop of the nectar of the favor of Krishna. That should be the prayer of a real devotee. Pashupaki hai taki sargava nirayitava bhakti raho bhakti anoda hriday. According to my karma, I may be a bird, I may be a beast, I may be a worm or an insect. I may be in heaven or in hell. I don't care about that. According to my own karma, let me suffer accordingly. But my only prayer is, let me not be devoid of the favor of Krishna. Let me get that. I want His grace. I want devotion for Him. Only devotion. That is all I want. Whether I have to enjoy the result of my good works in heaven, or I have to suffer for the misdeeds of my previous life and go to hell, I don't care. To get out of that, as a result of my karma, I shall have to suffer or enjoy. I don't care about that. My prayer is not to remove the reactions to my sins, to make away any good merit or bad result, but only that I may obtain pure devotion independent of these two. Good merit or bad result. I do not want release from either happiness or suffering. Let it be according to my previous karma. Rather, what I want from this moment on is that I will never try to waste the favor of Krishna by only praying to be able to face any eventuality. But that whatever I shall acquire from now on, however small, even a drop, that must be nectar of the highest order. And the lower delegation can deal with the question of heaven and hell. For removing our reactions or delivering us from hell or heaven, much lower agents are required. They can do that. But we shall only pray for Krishna's favor as a positive attainment, and never try to minimize our previous karma, the result of bad activities performed due to misconception. I don't care about the passport, I want the visa. If I get the visa, no passport trouble will be able to disturb me. It is something like that. So to merely do away with Maya, misconception, is nothing. But the positive attainment in the domain of Krishna is a very much higher thing. By passing Maya, we can attain Viraja, Brahmalok. We can get Mukti, liberation, the marginal position. But why should I waste my energy only to acquire a position in the marginal plane? All my attempts must be focused towards the prayer for a position in Goloka. And that will be a gain of the very highest order. I shall pray only for that. And automatically everything else will be accomplished. A pause here. So Chinmay Prabhu, here we're not asking for our daily bread, our sustenance, none of that. No mercantile transaction, like if I do this for you and you do this for me. Even in sacrifices we see that the great saintly kings used to conduct big sacrifices for higher entities so that they could get things in return. But like this, the purest prayer, Param Guru Maharaj is explaining, doesn't care for any of that. It doesn't care for any transaction. It doesn't care for even atonement or doing away with sins, washing it clean, because we should know rather at a higher plane that there's no end to atonement and this cycle. It'll keep happening. We keep asking for forgiveness and we will go back to doing action-reaction plane and continue. It's a never-ending process. So according to Guru Maharaj, as he's saying, is the highest prayer is asking for service. The only want that the real devotee would have, the person who's praying would have, is to please. His only want would be to give. No other want. He or they want to give, and so the capacity to give, that is service. To engage in some service, any drop, anywhere, maybe marginal, some vegetation or some sand in Goloka Vrindavan, that is very desirable. So, but we want to serve. We want to be trampled on. We don't want our sustenance here in this world. So like that. Very beautiful.
Yes, Prabhu, Guru Maharaj's conception of Vaishnavism is actually quite challenging sometimes. Because all other religions, they're saying it's kind of a transactional affair. You give something, the Lord will give something to you. You want something, the Lord will give it to you. And here Guru Maharaj is saying, nothing is for you, everything is for Krishna. And I've heard him say, if you're going to pray, there's only one thing to pray for, and that's the mercy of Krishna, and nothing else. So this type of consciousness, this type of conception of everything is for the Lord, and nothing is for us, it can be very challenging for those who are used to this transactional world.
Which is everyone.
Yeah, included.
which is everyone. But you're right. And when we say full-fledged... Yes, Somnath. Yes.
There are two things, and it comes again and again, in the discourse. One is pure devotion and the other is consciousness. If these two things are attained and if you are converging towards these two, then what Śrīdhar Maharaj is saying is is a logical fallout of that. It cannot be anything else. That is what I feel.
Higher sense, even logic follows. It may follow, reason may follow, may not follow. Who cares?
Yeah.
But see, full-fledged theism, Somnath ji and Srila Śrīdhar Maharaj takes it all the way where ultimately we're talking consciousness. There's complete self-forgetfulness, which means
Yeah.
that even the consciousness factor, the factor of being aware for oneself is also gone. So,
And that is pure devotion. That is pure devotion. There is no transaction. There is no calculation there. Yeah. Selflessness.
So after this, when there's no transaction, then there's beyond the purview of even knowledge, then there's Gyan Shunna Bhakti. Gyan Shunna Bhakti. Automatic, spontaneous. The transaction becomes well, you may say
irrelevant and peripheral.
no, it's intuitive. Then everything is intuition. And then higher than that, even more as it develops, and as Srimad Mahaprabhu himself, he took theism to just, its ultimate, where it's complete self-forgetfulness, and there is this sense of viraha, the sense of separation. So what he's displaying, what he took it to where we say Athato Brahma Jigyasa, then Krishna Anusandhan, that is Krishnasya Atma Anusandhan, where Krishna comes looking for himself. He is in complete self-forgetfulness. And it's madness. So as Chinmay Prabhu, Sripad Chinmay Prabhu was commenting that it's really difficult, even from the perspective of ordinary theology or religious people, like, what is this? What kind of level of religiosity is this that Srimad Mahaprabhu is exhibiting? It's this madness, and unless one actually dives deep into subjectivity and has grace from above, it's extremely difficult to actually see, because logic and any mundane speculation has really no place in understanding, even appreciating the higher pastimes and the most intimate pastimes. So yeah, I mean, you're really appreciative, and you've been with us, and continue to grace us with your company. I really appreciate that you're here and you share, and you also are really appreciative of Param Guru Maharaj and Gurudev's conception. So my pranam to you.
It is only a privilege. That's all I can say. Nothing more than that. It's a privilege.
Hare Krishna.
We are privileged to be in this company and in this, part of this discourse, and able to imbibe whatever we can to the best of our ability.
Well said, to the best of our ability, which is extremely limited in my case. But anyway. नमस्कार प्रीति जी.
Namaskar.
Okay. So, next section reads here, Savitri's encounter with Yamaraj. Okay, this is Param Guru Maharaj. There is a story from the Puranas which illustrates this principle. The story of Savitri and Satyavan. Savitri was a chaste lady who had acquired special capabilities through the performance of certain penances. And one day she went to the forest with her husband Satyavan. Knowing that this day was the day of his death. She knew that this was the day of her husband's death. But he did not. While cutting wood in the forest, Satyavan said, I have a headache. I need to take a nap. Savitri was prepared, and Satyavan put his head on her lap and slept. In his sleep, he died of heart failure, and Yamaraj came to take him. First, Yamaraj's agents came, but finding that Satyavan's body was on the lap of his very pure and chaste wife, they could not venture to take him. Then Yamaraj himself came and told Savitri, you leave him, he's dead, leave his body. Savitri said, yes, you may take him. Yamaraj took Satyavan's soul, but then he saw that Savitri, by dint of her penances, was closely following him in pursuance of her husband. Yamaraj said, oh, why are you coming? I am taking him. You must go back. Savitri replied, no, I can't. I shall go also. Yamaraj said, no, you must not come. Why are you disturbing my duty? This is the arrangement of the Creator, Lord Brahma, and you must obey that. Savitri replied, it is better to die than to live without my husband. Then Yamaraj said, all right, I will give you a boon. Accept that and be satisfied. Savitri asked that her father-in-law and mother-in-law, who were blind, would regain their sight. Yamaraj said, yes, they will regain their sight. But Savitri continued to follow him, saying, I am not yet satisfied completely. Then take another boon. Well, if you are pleased to offer another boon, my father-in-law and mother-in-law have also lost their kingdom. So now please arrange for them to be reinstalled in their own kingdom. Yes, I say they will get back their kingdom. But again, Savitri began following him. Again you are coming? Yes, I can't live without the company of my husband. Take another boon. Yes. What is that? I want 100 sons. Yes, you shall have 100 sons. Still Savitri kept following behind Yamaraj. Now why are you coming? I told you that you would have 100 sons. She replied, if you are taking my husband, then how can I get any sons? Then Yamaraj was perplexed. Yes, that's true. What can I do? So he appealed to the higher force. Savitri's boon was sanctioned and she got her husband back. Yamaraj had already committed himself. You will get 100 sons. So Savitri asserted that you have clearly sanctioned that I will get 100 sons, therefore you certainly can't take my husband. The general idea is that if we get some backing from the higher sphere, that will overrule all mandates imposed by the plane of mortality. If you are given a place in Goloka, we cannot be detained in this mundane world. When Tulsi Devi can give us a place there, then why should we waste our prayer to her by asking, please clear away the dirt on which I am standing? That is self-deception. So we shall always pray to the higher servitors for the higher service of the Lord. We won't care about where we might be. That problem will automatically be solved. If we get some higher appointment in the divine realm, then automatically we can't be detained here. Therefore, a Shuddha Bhakta, a pure devotee from the core of his heart, will never pray for anything else. For that would be a waste of energy. Only pure inclination toward the service of my eternal Lord. That I want. I know nothing else but that, and I do not want anything else. A pure devotee won't pray for anything but for the higher service of the Lord of his heart. He can't even imagine asking for anything for his or her own interest. In Christianity, such self-sacrifice is also present. And greater than that is self-forgetfulness. The self is there, but the servitor is forgetful of that and is 100% absorbed in attending to the pleasure of the Lord. No self-interest. Wholesale self-forgetfulness. They are unconscious of their own particular interest because it has become merged in the interest of the Lord, the absolute whole. So the one who is aspiring to become a pure devotee should never desire anything else but to purely serve and give joy to the Lord of his heart. When one is unconscious of everything else, let it be. Whatever he may like, that is pure devotion for Tulsi or whomever we are praying to. If one has got that higher Sukriti, that Shuddha Bhakti, the seed of Prem Bhakti, then he won't be able to think of anything else but Krishna's pleasure. He'll think only of the pleasure of his Lord, 100%, forgetting his own body, mind, everything. That is the purest type of prayer. Jai Om Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣhak Śrīdhar Dev-Goswamī Maharāj ki jai. Annabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhanavratam anukullena krishna anushīlanam bhaktir uttama sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. All other desires, self-interest, all other marginal requirements, everything reduced to zero. Anukulena, only for his pleasure. What he likes, which is anukul, anukulena krishnanushilanam. Bhaktiruttama, that is the highest. type of bhakti, service, devotion. And for that is the purest prayer, which must be devoid of all other wants and desires and provincial interests that we may have. That will attract. So that brings us to the end of this chapter, seeing with the eye of the soul. In the next session, we will cover test, taste, and triumph, which is chapter 4. So, any reflections or anything that comes to you, please share. Chinmoy Prabhu.
Well, just that second to last paragraph there where he talks about self-forgetfulness, because for me it's always a little difficult to understand. But, he states clearly here, it's not that you merge into the Lord. Your self-interest disappears, and that interest merges into the Lord's interest. So you are still a conscious being, thinking, willing, feeling, but your interests now and the Lord's interests are one and the same. That's the type of merging that Vaishnavas, that's the type of merging that the Vaishnavas want.
Yeah, the serving unit will always be the serving unit. And Tatastha Shakti, we know we're marginal, we are from the marginal plane. It's not that we are from Goloka Vrindavan. We're not. But we are given that grace, and we are taken up by the grace of the Vaishnavas and by the Lord. So we are taken up to those dizzy heights of service. And self-forgetfulness, very difficult to conceive ordinarily. I agree with you. Because how is it that one can be an independent unit and forget one's self-interest? So it's but that's the beauty of subjectivity, that there's apparent opposites, they exist in harmony. That is Krishna is the highest harmony. So he's bringing these apparent opposites. The more opposite, or the more apparent contradiction exists, there's more pleasure. And he is at that plane where all other planes can be harmonized. Our harmonization ability is practically nothing, is really limited. His is not limited, it's infinite. And so we're thinking that how can we be a conscious unit? We've been learning this and we are learning this, and then suddenly we go self-forgetfulness. How are we to harmonize that? But that is beautiful. Preeti ji, can you please mute your microphone? Thank you. Actually, let me ask Preeti. Preeti ji, can you help us?
Yes.
Can you help us?
Yes, sure. Yes, we can.
Okay, please go ahead whenever you're ready. Nandakishore and Lavanya Sundari, they're not here today.
Sure, no worries. Okay. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Daita Gadadhara Srivasadi Bhaktavinda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hariharaya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namaha Hariharaya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namaha Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopala Govindaram Shrimadhusudan Gopal Govindaram Shrimadhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhata Raghuna Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhata Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhata Dasa Raghuna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhata Dasa Raghuna Ishwar Goshai Kori Charana Vandan Ishwar Goshai Kori Charana Vandana Jagoite Vignana Sabishta Puran Jagoite Vignana Sabishta Puran Ishwar Goshai Jar Mui Taradas Ishwar Goshai Jar Mui Taradas Tasavara Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tasavara Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tadera Charana Se Bhakta Sane Pas Tandera Charana Se Bhakta Sane Vas Janame Mora Abhilas Janame Mora Abhilas Ishwar Goshai Jape Braja Koilaba Ishwar Goshai Jape Braja Koilaba Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Kumrila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Kurila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhajan आनंद बोलो हरि भज वृंदावन
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majaiyaman.
श्री गुरु वैष्णव पादे मज्जयामा
Jailaman.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Gauriya.
श्री गुरु वैष्णव पाद पद्म कोरिया
Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamada.
हरि नाम संकीर्तन को है नरोत्तम दास
Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah.
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण जादवाय नमः
Jadabhaya Namaha.
Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah.
जादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
हरे कृष्ण हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna,
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे राम हरे राम राम राम
Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
Jai Gauranga Sundar, Jai Gauranga Sundar, Jai Gauranga Sundar, Jai Gauranga Sundar.
जय गौरंग सुंदर जय गौरंग सुंदर जय गौरंग सुंदर जय गौरंग सुंदर
Jai Sabrika Shri Guru Baranga Gandavar Govinda Sundar Giridhari Gopal Ki Jai.
जय
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupat Mangsha Parivarshik Radha Variasti Saraswati Shri Srimad Bhakti Sundar Dev-Goswamī Maharāj Ki Jai.
जय
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupat Mangsha Parivarshik Radha Variasti Saraswati Shri Srimad Bhakti Dev-Goswamī Maharāj Ki Jai.
जय
Jai Om Vishnupat Mangsha Parivarshik Radha Variasti Saraswati Shri Srimad Bhakti Ki Jai. Jai Om Maharaj Gurpada Sabji Ki Jai. Maharaj Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai.
जय
Jai Om Vishnupat Jagannath Das Sabji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Vipin Guru Varga Ki Jai.
जय
Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Guru Ki Jai.
जय
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
जय
People Sri Shri Baladeva Vidibhushan ki jai.
Jai.
Śrīla Vishwanath Thakur ki Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Śrīla Narottama Shyamananda Srinivasacharya Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Śrīla Krishnadas Kaviraj ki jai.
Jai.
Taparsad Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Taparsad Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Ramkunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Lakshmi Varadeva ki jai.
Jai.
Shri the Bhakti Sangha Vinashaya Śrīdhar Srimad ki jai.
Jai.
Bhakta Prabha Prad Maharāj ki jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Maharani ki jai.
Jai.
Pankajamai ji ki jai.
Jai.
Grantha Rajeshwan Bhaktam Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Vishwa Vaishnava Rajasab ki jai.
Jai.
Bhaktarat Mat Rajeshri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Sadi Sab Mat ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai.
Jai.
Vishwa Kavya Tadiya Sakamat ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Damaya ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Damnabardi ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Sutam Dam ki jai.
Jai.
Baladeva Subha Adar Jugnaji ki jai.
Jai.
Govinda Kunda ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Shadashipaganga Jiru ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Vaishnava Mandal ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Kalyan Samvitan ki jai.
Jai.
Nitya Nande Hari Hari
Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shri Anika ji, Preeti ji, Vikram ji, family ki jai. Our divine panelist Shri Chinmay Dev Prabhu ki jai. Our divine guest Shri Somnath ji ki jai. Nandrani Didi ki jai. Let me go to our Facebook and see who I can see. Madhav Prabhu ki jai. Connie Jennings ki jai. Premarupa Devi Dasi ki jai. Ilya ji ki jai. And all the other devotees, exalted personalities, sab ki jai. Please forgive us for our offenses and continue to bless us. Jai Om Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govind Dev-Goswamī Maharāj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Rakṣhak Śrīdhar Dev-Goswamī Maharāj ki jai. Vishwarenya Śrīla A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Bhagwan Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Jai Jai Śrīla Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj ki jai. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Saparshad Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Nittai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.